what is the burden of demand, for hospital institutions that provide these services, that will make, these rules and guidelines, apart from the fact that the National Health Act, had mandated the tertiary institution to do that, what is the way that has made it mandatory?
Thank you very much for having me one more time. The burden of organ failure in Nigeria, particularly kidney failure, is quite huge. And people are dying in their numbers every day. And it's in response to that hospitals like ours decide to take up the challenge to save lives. Last week, I was walking on the corridor in the hospital and I saw a patient that we did a kidney transplant for in 2019. The man is looking hale and healthy. He flew in from the east. For that alone, I'm so fulfilled that not just him, his family, he's the breadwinner, But for every one of such, there are hundreds that are not fortunate enough, either because they are not financially buoyant or they couldn't get an organ from, a willing donor, and sometimes maybe they don't even know the right place to go. So the quest to save lives is what necessitated some of us. Even though the National Health Act was sketchy, it just talks about the general principle. But this committee is what we have been waiting for. And I want to commend the chairman of the committee, Professor Abiodun, for this milestone that we have achieved in the organ transplant space in Nigeria. And also particularly the Minister of State for Health, Professor Dr. Adekunle Salako, for taking the bull by the horn and setting the standard. Before now, we were doing what we knew was best based on our own ethical persuasions. And I'm happy to tell you that 95% of our own hospital guidelines are enshrined in this guideline. You would think, is it telepathy or they were listening to us and all that? We were the only hospital that was requesting for a court affidavit before we can even listen to a potential donor. Go to the court and tell them your age, tell them that you are not going to collect money, tell them your relationship with the recipient and all that. Once the court has cleared you, who are we to say no? Because it's still it's a matter of the law. So, the Bible says that where there is no law, there is no sin, because sin is a transgression of the law. So every great structure and every great institutions have been carved, have been molded by laws. Even when God, in my Bible account of the creation, the Bible says at the beginning the earth was formless and void. It was a chaotic mass. God had to speak orderliness into it. So no question about the fact that one or two institutions were doing things that were not, standard. But with these guidelines coming into place, people will either fall in line or leave that space entirely.
But there was a law, ab initio. There was
a law, the National Health Act. It was just scanty and it just speak about the general principles. But the nitty-gritty was not defined. This guideline, first of all, it talks about which hospital in the first place is qualified to undertake organ donation. You have to have an X-ray machine, you have to have a CT scan, you have to have at least 2 theaters. We have 4 theaters. If I can count the number of institutions, hospitals that have a CT scan on my fingertip. So that means that we are going to separate the pretenders from those who are really serious. And I'm happy with what the committee has come up with. It's encouraging.